our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked. Once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by the society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
It is possible to navigate pain with grace.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast with your host, Jen Mons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for joining again and listening into the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast. I'm so grateful that we still get to do this every week. Actually, we're going to make a shift. I guess this is a good time to announce. We are shifting after 5.5 years of consistent weekly podcast. We are shifting to bring you a podcast every 2 weeks. I often hear that my listeners love listening and they're always trying to catch up. And this also gives me and my podcast team more space to continue being intentional about who we bring to you as guests on the show. And it's my honor to do that. I love to have conversations with people. I love to share with you what I'm noticing and navigating in life through my clients, in my own personal life, all the learnings, the lessons, the laughter, the growth, the challenges, the whole thing. So thank you for being here again. This week, I want to have a conversation around navigating the seasons of life. Whenever I notice a theme and it's reoccurring multiple times, I know that there are multiple people in the space that I am in. You as listeners, we're sharing this energetic container, this space together. And I also know that this topic is something that whether you listen to it on the day that it drops live or you come back and listen many years later, which many of my listeners do with many of my episodes, having had the podcast since 2019, creating the space every other week is going to give you time to go back and listen to some other episodes that you may have missed. And I also know that what I'm sharing with you today is something that you will listen to when you need to, and it doesn't really matter when. You will be led and guided to this conversation. If you don't have a copy of my journal, you might know that I have published 2 hybrid book journals. The first one is called 13 Moons, A Balanced Feminine Approach to Living in the Flow of Daily Devotion and Cyclical Planning. And it's 13 moons because there are 13 moon cycles in a year, or 365 days. And it is the intention of this book/journal is to bring awareness of the spaciousness and the ease and the grace and the abundance and prosperity that we allow into our life when we stop forcing and we stop pushing and stop hustling and we start allowing and we flow and we live in sync with cycles. And it does take practice. We live in a very time-oriented, structured, comparison, hustling world. And so it takes courage to step outside that norm. The second hybrid book / journal, which I created, is Prosperity, which is a 90-day journaling experience to unlock your wealth blueprint. And the 13 moons is a great foundation to lead you up to the 90-day prosperity. I have many people who do both at the same time. I find that the path through 13 moons, which is really a journey through the 5 elements of living well, so 5 elements of wealth: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial, through the 12 months of the year, that when you do that inner work, which creates outer results, through those different parts of living well, you greatly expand your capacity to receive, which is a great foundation for prosperity. And so I want to invite you, if you don't have either of those, we will put the link to both of those in the show notes to check it out. You can find them on Amazon, enjoy it at your own time. The only time we've ever had back orders in ordering these is over Christmas time. Other than that, you can get it pretty quickly. Last Christmas, when I released the Prosperity Journal, it was back ordered 6 weeks, which I was grateful for, but I know that some of you might have forgotten it since then if you didn't order it then. In the 13 Moons Journal, we talk a lot about the energetics of cyclical living. And I invite you to a couple of different methods that I use in my life. First of all, the foundation of journaling is just wonderful, I feel. It's almost like an internal guided meditation. Like it helps to raise awareness. It helps to spark your creativity, to do a little, navigating your own belief system. And when you do that, it just releases so much. And when you're able to release that, you can create space for so many more new things to come in, the things that you're wanting to step into, to move into. And in this journal, because I love cyclical living so much, and by the way, I want to say, this was not, and still is not always exactly easy for me. I am a person who, probably like many of my listeners, is hardwired to perform. If you're new to me, you might not know the full story, but the former version of me was very high performing in corporate and military and the whole thing. And so it's been quite a shift to step into this flow and let go of the hustle. And there's still part of me, probably like many of you, if you're navigating this, that I enjoy working hard. But it's shifting to a place that is from pure joy, without expectation or seeking approval or attachment to anything, is where we find that true frequency of receiving and prosperity. And in that 13 Moons Journal, I do offer something that I've started in 2017, which is, just the balance in the way that I run my business and my home life, because I am an entrepreneur and I do support many entrepreneurs, not all the women. I do still support some executive women who are leaders in their roles, but I always like to say, building your business around your life and finding that flow is really where the gold is. So I offer, rather than what we're used to as quarterly reports, I offer and use slightly different seasonal cycles, and it's really just off by a few days. But in other words, the spring equinox, the summer solstice, the fall equinox, and the winter solstice. And really because I found that my natural rhythm of when I was productive, and you may notice this in yourself, you might notice that you have seasons and times of life where you feel very productive and super creative, and then you'll notice times are really slow. Or you'll notice, in your work and in your life, things feel easy, and then you'll notice it just feels like everything is breaking. and everything is just so hard. I'm laughing because, I mean, as I'm saying that, like, in the last, like, 2 weeks, the boat that we've had for 12 years, like, we had to be towed for the first time. And then we had a problem with the truck, and then our golf cart, and it's like everything is breaking. It just felt like I've heard myself saying, like, why is everything breaking right now, you know? And sometimes it feels like there's those seasons of life. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is just navigating those seasons and what you can do when you're feeling that. And I want to encourage you to consider the 13 Moons Journal as a tool that will help you to navigate that, and to use the monthly new moon planning tool, which is always a time to plant new seeds and reflect, to use the seasonal tool. There's also a place for celebrations and a place for gratitude, a place to write down your dream life vision, which I have a meditation on my website. We'll share that link as well, the dream life meditation that goes with that, just to help you stay, and allowing that to shift, but to help you stay aligned with where your heart and soul, the path that you are meant to live. I just got done recording a podcast with a wonderful guest, and one of the messages that came through, we were talking just before we were recording about what it takes to be happy, and what it takes is to live your truth. And I've also had a lot of opportunities lately to speak at events where I've talked about embodied leadership, and all of that comes from that avoiding that number one regret that people have, which is not living their truth and being different from those people that prefer comfort and safety over alignment and expansion. And if you're here, you're a person ready for alignment and expansion, because that's the language that I speak. So let's talk about navigating these cycles of life. This has been coming up in group circles I've been navigating with my private clients, and even in the podcast recordings. And I myself have been in an interesting place, and always am. And if you've listened for 5.5 years, you've noticed and you've witnessed the cycles that I go through and what I share. I talk about those cycles all the time. I'm pretty open book when it comes to sharing my experiences within the container that is able to be shared, only my personal experience of each of those experiences, because I know that sometimes it looks easier for other people than it is, and we think that other people can do things that we can't, and that is just not true. We all have the same opportunity, we all have the same choice every day, and you never really know what somebody else is going through or navigating unless you are that person. Sometimes it can seem so easy for other people to wake up and be happy every day, or to make money in their business, or to travel, or to create a retreat. I'm supporting many women right now to create retreats so that they can create time and financial freedom. And although I do have 10 years experience in doing this, the most interesting thing is that the last retreat that I did after 10 years was actually the hardest one that I did. So, and I don't say that to discourage. I say that to say that, like, we're always constantly learning and always students, because, well, if you're willing to expand and grow and do new things, you're just going to probably come across new challenges, which is why it's super awesome to have support when doing that. And I myself, when I stepped into 2024, I shared with you, as I had a feeling in 2020, I had this overwhelming sensation of grief. 6 weeks later, I lost my dad, and that has been really, really hard. It still, almost 5 months later, I'm still overwhelmed with waves of grief and sadness, but also a lot of joy and happiness and appreciation for our relationship. Grief also showed up in my business, and knowing that I had to create a change, and that change for me was from leading retreats since 2014 for 10 years to noticing that everything that I wanted was right in front of me, creating that time and financial freedom from leading retreats created a lot of travel in my personal schedule, which then meant I really didn't want to, I just wasn't feeling inspired to travel and lead a retreat. And so that shifted for me to support other women in leading their retreats. And I'm now able to, when people ask me when my next retreat is, I'm able to share with them what my clients are doing. And since I've worked with them, I know their capacity and their ability to lead and to create amazing experiences. And so I feel comfortable sharing that with other people. But that was a hard decision to make. And then another form of grief showed up because my older daughter is just, she graduated high school, she's moving to Italy, she's going to college, and she's her own person. She turned 18. So we're always navigating changes. We're navigating losses and grief, and also we're growing and expanding. So what I want to say is, if you're in a time of things feel slow or you don't feel motivated for whatever reason, could even just be something as simple as your hormones and menopause, or maybe you're just tired, maybe you just need a break, you're in that space of getting ready to transform again, or you're tired of transforming, you're tired of doing the inner work, all those things are okay. But if you're there, and I've said this before, I want to invite you to consider that sometimes the contraction is the expansion. So you might be navigating a very open place, and you might notice that when you open, lots of things start coming in. And then you might notice that if you shut down, seems like everything shuts down, or if something breaks, it feels like everything breaks. Or, if you're feeling frustrated in one area of your life, several areas of your life are showing up and frustrating you. And all of this is totally normal. And some things that you can do, one of the things that I love is journaling. And why I love that is because you can also go back and read when things felt really well. You can go back and read and see that you've actually done better than you thought. You could go back and read, there's so many life tools in place that are so great for this. The vision board every year, the quarterly mapping if you're a business owner. I love to save, and I have saved since probably 2014, all of my business goals. And the financial piece and the, what I wanted to create, when it feels like you're not where you want to be, if you go back and look over the years how far you've come, you can have compassion for yourself. So that's why I love keeping record of things, and I love journaling, because the gratitude practice is nice too, of course, that's part of it. But the journaling also helps you to see what you've come through, what you've overcome. And 9 times out of 10, I actually can't even think of a person right now who's told me differently. But everybody has shared with me and in my own experience that they're doing better than they thought. Which is really awesome, because I think we forget to acknowledge that. And so that is one practice that I like to do. The second practice that I've noticed works really well for myself and the women that I'm supporting, and this is actually just coming through for me, is when we're in that time of feeling stuck or slow or just not ready, it's just a really great time to ground and to center and to get back into your body. So it might be a really good time for a health reset. It might be a great time to prioritize healthy meal planning again, or in a new way if you're not already doing that. And I find that this also has a season. And this has been my life for the last 20 years at least. Most of you know I started out 17 years ago health coaching. And so I allow that to change and flow as the age of my kids changes. And, we don't, like when your kids get older, they don't really snack. You're eating 3 big meals a day. And so 15 years ago, it was about making healthy snacks. And now we're in a place of traveling a lot. So that relationship with healthy eating has changed and relationship with exercise has changed, trying to find consistency in a routine. But I also find that when I'm supporting clients, when they're in that place of uncertainty, and this is part of the 13 Moons journal, that you don't have to start at the month that it's in. You can start whenever you want. But the first month the second month, January is about creating sacred space, but February is healing the heart, March, embody self-love, April, intuitive nourishment. You can see all of those months. You can start at any time, but it's all about reconnecting with your body and your physical health. And so if you're in that place of stagnation or stuckness or doubt, a really good thing to do is to move into your body. It takes you out of your thoughts, which are probably creating unhealthy feelings and emotions and actions, and it gets you into your body, and it's kind of like starting over with a clean slate. If you're participating in exercise and eating healthy foods, it's going to change your vibration anyway. It's going to raise your vibration because that's what healthy foods and movement do. It helps you to detox and nourish yourself with higher energy. So the first thing that I love is journaling and reflecting. The second is to get back into your body. And the third is to share and connect with someone just about where you are. So some of you might be good at communicating, some of you might struggle with this, but communication and connection is an important part of our well-being. So whether it's a friend or a partner, a spouse, a coach, a therapist, whoever it is to support you, oftentimes we can share enough through journaling, but just sharing it and speaking it out loud helps to transmute it, and it helps us to move through it quicker. And I find over and over and over again when I'm supporting my clients, like the minute that they share something that it feels heavy for them, then they're just able to move through it so much quicker. And there's something really nice about sharing and being supported by someone who understands and gets it and can come from a place of non-judgment and non-attachment and can help you move forward. It's amazing. I mean, I've shared with you, I've had coaches pretty much my whole life in some capacity, and that's why I decided to become a coach many, many years ago, and now I am a mentor to many coaches, but because it's a really powerful relationship. You, in my experience, never leave the same person that you came into the coaching relationship as, because you're going to transform and you're going to make different choices in your life. And you're going to see results, whether it's a fitness coach, a health coach, life coach, business coach, whatever it is. You are going to learn and take away probably more than you even know before you enter that relationship. So journaling, getting into your body, connecting and sharing with others. And lastly, I would just say just having compassion and giving yourself permission to just be where you are. Trusting and knowing that it's temporary. Everything is temporary. You might notice that it's uncomfortable. A couple of things that show up for me are I notice, am I tired or am I actually just relaxed? As someone who has been hardwired to perform most of my life and really integrating the undoing of that and supporting women in that space, it's interesting when things get easy how uncomfortable we can become. I'm talking about relationships, like with our partner or our friendships or work, where all of a sudden we're getting a raise at work, or we're receiving a lot of financial abundance through our work in very unexpected ways. And it starts to come really easy. If we're hardwired to think hard work equals money or success, or what do people say? Something like anything worth having is worth working for. You know, those kind of belief systems that make us feel or maybe drive us to behavior that doesn't allow us to live in as much ease and grace and flow. They're interesting to look at and noticing how you show up in that. So if you're navigating a contraction right now, if you're feeling underwhelmed, unmotivated, and I've been seeing this in my circles lately, what's nice about being in a tribe of women is that you notice that everybody navigates this from time to time, and it's okay. Like, just give yourself permission to be there. Notice when it's an unhealthy habit, and notice when it's necessary. Notice if you feel uncomfortable in the stillness or when things slow down, because you're so used to the chaos and the doing and the hustle and the surviving. You're so used to that being part of your identity. Just notice where you are. Give yourself permission to be in your body. Take care of your health. Take care of your well-being. Nurture your relationships. And when you do this, the fun part is that you actually start to embody and embrace more flow, which opens up creative expression. And it opens up pathways to confidence and clarity. And confidence and clarity to take action on the things that you want to take action on, to speak the things you want to speak, to create the changes that you want to create. And you may also notice some untapped creative expression. You may notice that you're ready to try something new, go someplace new, plan that trip. And it starts to be really fun because you're not exhausted. Your energy is in sync with the season of life that you're in because you're slowing down. You're attuning yourself to the frequency of where you are. Also, know with clarity where you want to go. You have more energy to take the aligned action, to navigate the path forward, to be the person that you want to be. And because you're more present, you're able to live with less regret and less anxiety because you're in the moment. So you can remember more, you can be more present, not miss the precious small moments, not miss the opportunities to receive or be supported or try something new. Because what I have noticed is many of us are running around so busy that so many missed opportunities are happening right in front of our face. Then when we actually slow down and do nothing for a moment, take a deep breath, listen to our internal guidance system, take that time for prayer and meditation. It doesn't take much. Just slow down. Then we live in more alignment and more ease, and things feel easier. And they come from a place of joy. So I hope I've given you a couple of steps and some permission to just be where you are, navigating the seasons of life, the changes of life. We're all going through them. I know many women in my circle are anywhere from 35 to 55 and navigating growing children or grown children, changes in your passion, the work that you love to do, relationships, health, the whole thing. It's all part of life that we all get to navigate at some point or another. And, we're all just doing it in our own timing. And if you're looking for a tool to help you navigate wherever you are, then I'd love to invite you to check out the 13 Moons Journal. It is 365 days of journal prompts, but you can start and stop whenever, wherever you want. I've got a guide in the front of the journal that helps you to create the intention to be consistent, but also to give yourself permission to be in that ebb and flow of life and really dig deep in understanding why it's important to you. Because if you know why it's important to you, then you'll be more likely to commit to a daily practice or a weekly practice. I find daily is the best way to go. And give yourself permission to know when it's working for you or not working for you. So wherever you are in this season of life, Whether it's in, and even in the journal, one thing I talk about is the seasons and the phases that we have in life, the 25-year cycle, 0 to 25, and being our growth, learning, planting new seeds season of life, which is very similar to spring. It's also very similar to the 4 phases of each day. So, for example, 0 to 6 a.m. would be the first phase of the day, which is also very similar to the spring season. It's when we talk about the spring equinox, we're planting new seeds. And when we talk about the phase of the day, it's the time of the day where we're resting, rejuvenating, and getting ready to wake up. And there's also that phase of the moon cycle, which is the new moon, where we're planting new seeds. And interestingly enough, I talk about in the journal, there is a phase to the women's menstrual cycle, which it is linked to, which is when we are actually in that menstrual cycle or phase of our menstrual cycle. The second season of life is 25 to 50 years. Many of you are in that. It's a time of connection, career, family, and marriage. It would be very similar to the summer season, and also the time of the day, 6 a.m. to 12 p.m., which is oftentimes for most of us our productive time of the day. And then we have our 50 to 75, which is our season of wisdom and completion, creating legacy, centering. It would be more like the waning moon after the full moon, where it's similar to the fall equinox. We're planning, we're gathering, we're preparing for winter. And it would be the time of the day from noon to 6, when we are harvesting and gathering and creating. We often experience dinner time at that time and connecting with our families after work. And it would be similar to the ovulation phase of our menstrual cycle, where we're feeling productive. And then the final phase would be 75 to 100 years, which is rest, reflection, transition into a new beginning, which is the transition, the life transition after this physical life, to a new moon or a winter when we are resting, which would be the same season as the winter solstice. When we go inward, we get quiet, we're full of wisdom. That would be the 6 p.m. to midnight for each day, which is the time that we should be resting and going to bed, slowing down at night, and hibernation, I guess you would say. So, we can see the syncs in the moon cycle, our menstrual phase, the 4 seasons of the year, the 4 phases of life. And so just notice which phase of life that you are in right now. And also noticing that we navigate these seasonal changes every single day, because we have 24 hours in a day. We have 4 blocks of 6 hours. And so we're navigating seasons within seasons within seasons. And I'd love to hear what season you're in. Thank you so much for joining. I'd love to hear what you think about today's episode. Love to hear what you think about the 13 Moons Journal. Have a wonderful day. Aloha.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you, a meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like and light-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.